everyone thought the Diddy saga was just about him. But now, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's names are being tossed into the mix, and not in a good way. What started as a scandal has turned into a full-blown storm. We're talking whispers of secret, recordings, federal probes, and names being dragged into the spotlight like it's a Hollywood thriller.
Tonight, the brave Diddy insiders finally able to tell all.
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
Once Diddy's case gained momentum, it stopped being just about his actions. Testimonies started surfacing, tapes leaked, and court documents began spilling secrets. Prosecutors aren't just looking at Diddy anymore. They're circling around some of the biggest names in the industry. And right now, the whispers about Jay-Z and Beyoncé, they're getting louder. Much louder.
I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty things.
What do you think happened with Kim?
Keeping people against their will. Putting people on planes while they're unconscious. Just like Aaliyah got on that plane.
The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will show.
One name keeps coming up again and again, Aaliyah, and not without reason.
What's the problem with Rock Nation and Jay-Z now? Or what's
setup king. I ain't simple like his wife, and neither was Aaliyah. I guess that's why he had a kid.
Yeah.
That young woman, who else would have known better how to have someone posing as Dame Dash's personal assistant call Aaliyah so strategically and tell her she needed to rush to the hospital in Miami because Dame was on his deathbed. Dame wasn't nowhere near Miami, and he didn't have no assistant call Aaliyah. Who the f else would have known that other than his closest ally, his best friend, the nigga that was f***ing her before him? Prove me wrong, sue me or don't. These motherfuckers been killing people for years. Not long after that, Diddy and Jay-Z been running around acting like they run LA.
Her death still haunts fans. Just 22, when her plane crashed after a video shoot in the Bahamas, people mourned, but never stopped asking questions. Why did the plane go down right after takeoff? Was she drugged? Was something being covered up? The rumors have never stopped, and they won't until someone brings hard proof.
Aaliyah was sitting in a taxi as her team and the flight crew argued nearby about whether or not to take off, and she complained of having a headache. Now, reportedly, a baggage handler nearby said that someone from her entourage gave her a pill. She took the pill, and that right after, she fell into a very deep sleep. So deep, in fact, that she was carried onto the airplane still asleep and may not have even been aware that she was on the airplane. Now, we should say we don't know what that pill was. It could have been aspirin. Maybe she was just very tired from a long video shoot. And the baggage handler did say that she took it willingly. It does reveal some new information about those final moments.
After the crash, investigators determined the small plane was carrying about 700 pounds over its limit. And this is important. The center of gravity was too far back in the aircraft.
The pilot did not want to make this trip, and he reportedly argued with Aaliyah's team because he thought that it was unsafe. So he did make those calculations, and he did decide that it was unsafe. However, after a protracted negotiation, they went through with that flight. Now, we did also learn some new things about this pilot. According to autopsy results, he had both alcohol and cocaine in his system.
The pilot
did.
Well,
he was not the authorized pilot for that.
If now her uncle is speaking out, and suddenly people are paying attention all over again. Clip 6A Aaliyah was a star from day one, just a kid when she first hit the stage, only 14 when her debut album dropped. R. Kelly helped launch her career, but it turned dark fast. He was accused of using a fake ID to marry her when she was just 15. Her parents shut it down quickly, but the damage had already been done.
Take me to when you speak on Aaliyah. People really was honed in when you spoke on Dame Dash, Aaliyah, and speaking on something where you're saying, I wish that situation will be investigated further.
No, to be investigated.
Period.
It was never investigated. Hype was never questioned. Lenny Kravitz made a statement, and it was never publicized. She was unconscious. She chose to get on that plane. There were phone calls made. There are witnesses who signed NDAs. Why would you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement about a plane crash and what happened leading up? Please, someone answer that.
Do you feel like the
Why would you need to sign a document about a plane crash if it was accidental?
Do you feel like
Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Work with me here in this moment.
I'm gonna ask you?
A plane crash should be accidental.
Should.
Why would any testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement? There wasn't foul play. There are people who did short sales on their stock right after that, made a lot of money, including Sean Carter. Now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident? There were over 25 non-disclosure agreements cashed out and reported regarding the death of that beautiful girl and every other human being that died on that plane with her. What the? What did you need an adult? And Diddy, the Hype Williams, the ball. Belly was a money kick.
Question.
And Jay-Z had G-free videos.
Still, Aaliyah kept rising, respected, successful, beloved. But then came that tragic crash. While the focus stayed on the pilot and the overloaded plane, someone came forward years later with a chilling claim. Aaliyah was given a pill before the flight and had to be carried aboard. She never even walked onto that plane herself.
If you could go back and change anything, what would you do differently? How would you protect Aaliyah?
That's a good, ugly question, because there's so many things, and so many nights that I've stayed awake, wondering if I had made a plan different, or if I had been there to the video shoot myself.
Investigators later found the plane was around 700 pounds overweight. The cargo was placed too far back, throwing off the balance. It wasn't safe to fly, and here's the kicker. The pilot knew. According to a book on the crash, he even tried to back out, arguing with Aaliyah's team. But after a tense back and forth, he gave in.
What is the deal with you and R. Kelly? Are you all married or not? No, I'm not married. Robert's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. He's a great producer, great artist, who I do admire, and there's nothing left.
When you did the record with her,
with him, with Jake. That's why I was that was almost like one of the things where I was just like, he's out of here, Jake. I just let it go because I couldn't believe he did a project with R. Kelly, knowing that he had my girl.
And then came another shock. The pilot's autopsy revealed alcohol and drugs in his system, and he wasn't even certified to fly that type of plane. He had just joined the airline days before. Red flags were everywhere. 2 decades later, Aaliyah's fans and family are still mourning. Her uncle Barry Hankerson, who founded Blackground Records, finally opened up. He gave Aaliyah her shot, when no one else would.
What are prosecutors saying that he did to Aaliyah?
Yeah, the reason Aaliyah is part of this case is because prosecutors say she is one of the victims in a decades-long criminal enterprise led by R. Kelly, essentially for the purpose of sexually abusing underage girls. Now, during this trial, one of R. Kelly's former tour managers testified that he is the one who personally bribed a government official to get a fake ID for Aaliyah, saying that she was 18 years old when she was really 15. Why did he do that? Because R. Kelly reportedly wanted to marry her. That's what this man testified. And he said that R. Kelly wanted to marry her because he had gotten Aaliyah pregnant. And he wanted to be able to legally authorize an abortion for her as a minor at just 15 years old. And he also wanted to protect himself from prosecution.
It's reprehensible.
It's awful.
I understood the getting married part. I didn't realize there was a potential baby, and you uncovered about that allegation.
Yeah, the new book, Baby Girl, reveals some new details about the final moments before that tragic accident. And according to the author, Aaliyah was sitting in a taxi as her team and the flight crew argued nearby about whether or not to take off, and she complained of having a headache. Now, reportedly, a baggage handler nearby said that someone from her entourage gave her a pill. She took the pill, and that right after, she fell into a very deep sleep. So deep, in fact, that she was carried onto the airplane still asleep and may not have even been aware that she was on the airplane.
Barry revealed something unexpected. He never wanted Hype Williams to direct the music video, but Aaliyah's mother insisted. Looking back, Barry says he regrets giving in. He now believes that one decision may have changed everything. Clip 11, despite all the chaos around her, Aaliyah just wanted to sing, chase her dream. Barry says he didn't want anyone to take that away from her, not even the man who allegedly tried Jay-Z. In 2021, Damon Dash revealed some personal details about Aaliyah's love life that shocked fans. Aaliyah had always been private, but Dash, her boyfriend at the time, said they were serious.
Pilot must have been doing some of these calculations. Why would he risk his own life, and what do we know about him?
Yeah, according to the book, the pilot did not want to make this trip, and he reportedly argued with Aaliyah's team because he thought that it was unsafe. So he did make those calculations, and he did decide that it was unsafe. However, after protracted negotiation, they went through with that flight. Now, we did also learn some new things about this pilot. According to autopsy results, he had both alcohol and cocaine in his system.
The pilot
did.
Whoa.
He was not the authorized pilot for that plane, and he had just joined that company a few days prior to that flight. So he was very new with that company.
Dash said they were even talking about marriage. But the bombshell? Aaliyah had a thing with Jay-Z before him. According to Dash, Jay-Z pursued.
What is it that made your niece, Aaliyah, such a superstar, a one in a million find?
Oh my God, that is so difficult to answer. She, from a little girl, she had a way that she just did things slightly different. She would deal with movies slightly different. She would dress slightly different. And it was just her peers and her friends and her family were just always in awe of whatever she did. She would just come out and start singing one of her favorite songs, My Funny Valentine. And in fact, she did that on a show called Star Search. And she just was so special. We knew how special she was until she started talking about singing. I don't think any of us knew where she was headed until she actually started singing all the time and wanting to perform. And because of my profession, you know, it just happened to be, hey, why don't we see what we can do?
About a year and a half ago, you had a stroke.
Yeah.
Could have been devastating. It's pretty scary. How did that brush with death impact how you now view the passing of Aaliyah?
Oh. Well, it kind of made me feel closer to her, to be honest with you, because when I had the stroke, it was so out of the blue and so sudden. For about an hour, I didn't know where I was. I was in some dark place, but I could feel the presence of other people. And I believe the other person was my mom. And she spoke to me and told me to get out of here and go back. And I said, "Mom, is that you? I can't see you." And she said, "You're not supposed to. You see me when you come back." And then I looked up and I began to gather myself and realize something happened to me, but I didn't know what it was.
So you had a near-death experience. How did that color what you think Aaliyah went through as that plane was crashing a minute after takeoff?
Oh God. Believe it or not, I was thinking about her music. I was thinking about, because I worked on it every day, very obsessively. So I felt like she was with my mom.
So does it make you more comfortable that Aaliyah might be there with your mom, or did you feel worse that she had to go through this as well 20 years ago?
No, I'm sure Aaliyah and my mom are in the same place. Yeah. After that experience, it's no question in my mind.
Where were you when you found out about the plane crash?
I was on my farm in Georgia, and got a call. Somebody says, "You got a long distance call. It's from the video shoot," because I knew that they were shooting a video, obviously. And I ran to the phone, and I spoke to the director, Hype Williams, and he said, "Aaliyah's gone." And I was devastated. I immediately called Minister Farrakhan and asked him, could he call God? Could he talk to God?
In fact, just weeks before her tragic flight, Aaliyah was seen at the home Jay-Z and Dash once shared. Theories have swirled for years. Some believe Jay-Z never got over her and may have had a hand in what happened when she chose someone else.
So whose idea was it for her to go down to the Caribbean to shoot this?
Hype Williams. Hype was the director. To be very honest with you, I did not want to use Hype Williams, but there was a push from management, which is her mom, to do a video with Hype. I did not really want to work with Hype Williams. I regret that. If I could do it over again, I would not have worked with him. And I don't know where the video would have been shot. Would have been still shot there or someplace else. But the first time I've ever said that. But that's what was in my heart when his name came up.
So it was more your sister than R. Kelly pushing for Hype Williams?
I don't know, but that's a very good question. There was some type of rapport my sister had with Robert Kelly that began to creep into our lives. And I really don't know what that is. I really couldn't tell you what that is. That's something my sister would have to talk about. But I did feel, because Hype and R. Kelly had a relationship, because he directed a lot of Robert's videos. So the fact that you just said that is very amazing, because it was a push to use Hype more than it was a push to use anybody else. So at that time, I was after the debacle with R. Kelly. I was for not having any linkage to Robert Kelly at all through directors or whatever. So that did come up that way, and I lost that battle. Hype became the director.
I'll say different. What did you do when you learned that R. Kelly had illegally married your niece Aaliyah?
Went crazy. I really went into myself. I met with the minister and really had to debrief me, and because my reaction was not a good reaction. I had no understanding of it. I had no compassion for it. It was just totally out of the realm of what I would think any young girl should have had to experience. And I made myself known, obviously, to Robert Kelly, and in a conversation, and I've never spoken to him again to this day.
What did you say to him?
Things like, who do you think you are? We trusted you. I've worked very hard to make your career happen.
You were managing him.
Yes.
You must have felt terribly betrayed.
I was betrayed, and my whole family was betrayed. We gave him not just an opportunity to learn how to perform, but we gave him a lot of love and understanding, because he had a tough life. I felt like that kind of betrayal, that you have to do something to somebody. But because of the mentorship of the minister, I totally went another direction and simply just followed along with my sister and just kept it to a very low ebb in our family and to the public so that Aaliyah would not have to experience as much strife and pressure that could come from her family. She wanted to pursue her career.
Dash also said Aaliyah didn't date lightly. If she wasn't into you, you'd end up in the friend zone fast. That was her vibe. He added that he had serious issues with Jay-Z's partnership with R. Kelly, especially how unbothered Jay seemed about it, given everything R. Kelly had done.
So this is after Jay tried to talk to Aaliyah, but she chose you over him.
You know the timeline, bro. We did the project when she died, which was even more disrespectful. And I'm not getting over that. But it's not fighting. It's just, yo, go over there, I go over here. That's what it is. But it doesn't mean hate on me and my money up, but apparently it did.
Jay-Z hasn't said much about his falling out with Dash or Diddy's trial. But with all these names getting dragged into the headlines, that silence might not last. Especially with rumors flying that Diddy might be about to walk.
Prosecutors maintain the girl in the video was as young as 13 when it was made.
I mean, I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that. I know I ain't have nothing to do with that.
That's crazy. Your partner. He's not my partner. Look how my partner played me. You calling him my partner? Publicly, that man did a record with my girl and then went on a tour with him. So I had to look the other way. And because my girl said leave it alone, I left it alone.
You left it alone.
Dame couldn't break his promise to Aaliyah, but his anger was spiraling out of control.
Jaguar Wright told us that Jay-Z was worse than Diddy. And we're going to go ahead and deep dive this Jay-Z and Diddy connection to show just how deep this might actually go. The one thing I can't stand is seeing these photos of Jay-Z and Diddy with Aaliyah. It makes me sick to my stomach. We know that Diddy and Jay-Z have both been friends with R. Kelly for years, and Jay-Z continued to make albums with R. Kelly after all the information came out with him and Aaliyah. And I'd say this is because Jay-Z was pretty comfortable with the fact that he knew he also wanted Aaliyah, and honestly, so did
a lot of people believe Diddy might skate free by cutting a deal, handing over bigger names to save himself. And at the top of that list, Jay-Z. Could it actually happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Sean Diddy Combs' trial will resume tomorrow as a third personal assistant is set to take the stand. Over the first couple of weeks, jury members heard explosive testimony detailing the alleged physical and emotional Combs' pause. Let's bring in David Gelman, former prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. David, welcome.
Hey, Mike, good to be here.
So in week 2 of testimony, jurors heard from a dozen witnesses as prosecutors try to prove sting and racketeering. What are your expectations when court resumes tomorrow?
It's going to be really interesting tomorrow when Diddy's third or fourth assistant takes a stand, and she's going to actually corroborate Kid Cudi's testimony from last week, where he said that Diddy and another associate of his bombed his Porsche years ago at his house. Now, you have to have corroboration about that because nobody can put Diddy there. And in fact, nobody even can say Diddy's the actual one who did it. But if they can say that Diddy or an associate of his did it, then you may have a racketeering charge there. Because right now, as it stands, Mike, nothing, and I mean nothing, is sticking to Diddy.
Diddy's lawyers are trying to make the case that his escapades do not amount to federal crimes. How difficult is that argument?
I think they're doing a fantastic job, honestly. Look, everybody has said, and Diddy's lawyers even said it in their opening statement, Diddy is not a good guy. There's a lot of domestic violence that occurred between him and Cassie in their relationship. However, what we've heard so far from the testimony of Cassie and the other individuals does not amount to the federal charges that he's being charged with right now. I'm not going to say anything that we heard is very good because it's all horrific. However, the state or the government in this particular instance needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he conspired to racketeer, to traffic, and to promote prostitution. So far, they're falling way behind in this. And I know there's a lot more to go in this trial because they're saying it's going to be about 8 weeks. But the government really better step on the gas because they don't have a lot more time to go.
So the play seems to be maybe admit to a state crime that avoids prison time. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Look, again, you're hearing about all this domestic violence, but all that has nothing to do with what Diddy is charged